Rather lame jubenye, Shabjepe mola duching, Pombaquin le drozema, Domayum la chance lo, Omtare to Dare to Resoha, Omtare to Dare to Reso. Umdare to Dare to Reso, Omdare 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 to Dare to Reso. Dare do dare do re so, 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 dare do dare do re so. Dare do dare do re so, 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 dare do dare do re so. Dare do dare do re so, 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 dare do dare do re so. Dare do dare do re so, 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 dare do dare do re so. Dare do dare do re so, 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 dare do dare do re so. Dare do dare do re so, 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 dare do dare do re so. Dare do dare do re so, 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 dare do dare do re so. Dare do dare do re so, dare do dare do re so, ha gewa de yurdo da fama do ma tu gyo ne do wa chi gyang ma le ba. De salang bara sho. Hello and welcome everybody. So the series of talks that I'm giving and that you are listening is basically education that we are receiving. In this case, Buddhist education. So it is relevant to know that education basically means recognizing one's own internal potential and activating them. So when you listen to teaching, you should not think that you are a subject on which to be acted upon as a passive listener, right? So these teachings are like mirrors. When you look at the mirror, the purpose is not simply look at the mirror and then just go, but the purpose is to see whether there are any blemishes or spots on your face. If there are, then you need to remove those blemishes and spots. So similarly, by looking at the mirror of Dharma teaching, you need to find out whether you have positive qualities or negative qualities. The positive qualities must be appreciated and strengthened, and the negative qualities must be discouraged, reduced, and if possible, completely eliminated. That is the purpose. Because as I've repeatedly mentioned that what we want is long-lasting happiness and peace. And the greatest obstructive factor for that is all these different types of negative emotions. So there is only one job, basically speaking, to fight with these negative emotions, reduce them in our daily life, to reduce their intensity, to weaken them, to defeat them. That is the main job. So to do that, we need education. Even if you think about this English word education, which comes from uh, different letters, different words. One is called educare or educo or educere, whichever word you use, that basically means drawing the inner potentials out, taking out and activating them. The greatest difficulty we face is because we do not know ourselves. We do not recognize ourselves. And I remember once His Holiness meeting with a group of scientists where His Holiness said, it's wonderful that through science and technology, much has been discovered with reference to the external material world, including the stars and the sun, the moon and the mountains and all those things. But the greatest mystery hidden under the skull is right. So it's really amazing. We know nothing about ourselves, nothing. We don't even know where is our lung, where is our kidney, how many kidneys we have. Many people might say I have 3 kidneys or things like that. So we really don't know much. And then especially about this mysterious thing called I itself, which is just a designation, which is very elusive, which is very slippery, right? Now, this slippery nature of the I does not mean I is not there, but it's slippery and elusive because there is no I as we thought earlier, as is perceived by our ignorant mind. So therefore, there is a lot to learn about oneself, purpose of one's life, the very meaning of the I, the very nature of the I, and its connection with the rest of the world and so forth. So for this, understanding your own potential to become the best. In Buddhism, we talk about Buddha nature, meaning that all of us, not only human beings, but the tiniest insects have that Buddha nature, which basically means the capacity to get the highest happiness in the form of Buddhahood. Everybody has that capacity, right? So especially in our case, having found this precious human life, where we have this capacity to really get the education. In Buddhist terms, it is called the 3 trainings, 3 shiksha. Basically means 3 kind of education. Education on morality, education on concentration, and education on wisdom, cultivating these 3 shiksha, right? So shiksha, when you use this Hindi word or Sanskrit word shiksha, the shas with the shiksha basically means discipline, morality. Then sometimes for education, in India, we use the word shiksha, or sometimes we use the word vidya. Vidya talks about the knowledge part. So the shiksha talks about the discipline part. So that basically means the need to have a combined education of proper development of the brain, that is development of knowledge, and development of the heart, good heart. So in Buddhism, that basically means development of the skillful means and the wisdom, understanding the way things are. These 2 are like the 2 wings of the bird. Just as with the 2 wings of the bird can soar and fly into the deepest of, depth of the space. So similarly, with these 2 wings, we can soar into the state of enlightenment. Kunzob thinyi, shoyang karbo jejurwa. Ngangbe jebu tini jivu ngangba yin. Dundu tani gebe lungi shudobje, jebe yu jasu paro chodundo. This is a quotation from Madhyamika Avtara, entering the middle way, where Chandrakirti is really, comparing the flight of a white swan, which is spreading its 2 wings, then, soaring into the state of enlightenment, the wing of the conventional truth and ultimate truth. So conventional truth includes development of compassion and so forth, right? So therefore, it is important to when we get any kind of education, including Buddhist education, we need to make it very clear that it's only helping you to recognize yourself. It is only helping you to discover your inner potential. All of us have that inner potential, right? As I said earlier, you are the only original copy in this world, meaning that you are very unique. You have very special quality, capacity than others. So recognize that capacity and take that capacity out, make it alive, right? So that means education basically means taking responsibility of oneself. We are all saying, I want a long-lasting peace, I want a long-lasting happiness. But we are not taking the responsibility to get that long-lasting happiness, to get that long-lasting peace. So यहाँ हम लोग मार खा जाता है. In Hindi, we say, here, it is here, then we get defeated in the war, right? So take responsibility. We can make choices. And what kind of choice you want to make, it is in your hand. So therefore, Don't get bogged down with fleeting pleasures, but attempt to get that more reliable, long-lasting peace, happiness for oneself and for others. And that is the purpose of human life. That is the essence of religious practice, and which is true in the case of Buddhist practice also, right? So that's important, whether you're getting any kind of secular education or religious education. It's important to realize that it is really like making oneself flower or flourish, right? Not just some studying mathematics, reading, writing, not just that. Making yourself flourish means somebody who becomes happy, who becomes who is at peace. That's the most important thing. And that state of peace and happiness we need to cultivate right from now, right from today. Start by getting contented with even small happinesses. You know, don't always long for a big thing, which sometimes may be quite difficult to achieve, but still longing for that. And while longing and aiming for that, you are unable to enjoy the pleasures and happinesses that is there right at your disposal. And in this way, life ebbs out. Life comes to an end. So life is nothing but combination of many moments. So if you miss one moment, miss 1 second, 1 hour, not being able to be happy, not being able to be in harmony with yourself, you are in that way, you are missing the opportunity to be happy in your life, right? In Hindi, we have very beautiful word, where we say, Kal kisne dekha, who have seen tomorrow, tomorrow is yet to come. It's almost like, sometimes I think tomorrow is like future life, just as we don't know future life, right now. So tomorrow also, we think we know what will happen tomorrow, but there's no certitude, there's no certainty. So what we know is now, right? And the way to prepare tomorrow is also today. So be happy, whatever be the fluctuation in life, whatever be the circumstances, challenges, take them as a natural thing. And then if it's possible to solve the problem, okay. If not, then just forget it. In Hindi, again, we say, Sale ko goli maro, just forget, go with the hell. Just say, go with the hell. I made my attempt to solve this problem, solve this difficulty. It's impossible to solve it. So go hell with you. That's sometimes when you get angry, then you say, go hell with you. So say that, go hell with you. Forget that. And when we are not able to do that, then we always crushed under that lingering kind of unhappiness and suffering, which actually has no meaning at all. How much you suffer, it's just total waste. There's no meaning at all. If at all, if you're interested in suffering, then suffer for something that's productive, suffer for something that is challenging. But unfortunately, our human way of thinking is, human way of living life is that we suffer unnecessarily for many things, which has no, benefit for oneself, no benefit for others, useless suffering. But if you suffer, if you face challenges for a long-term kind of beneficial thing for oneself, for others, then that is suffering, is actually not suffering, it's an ornament, that's making your life meaningful, right? And in fact, how much you will suffer under even circumstances is very much dependent on your mental attitude, your being able to accept the reality or not, right? So therefore, at the end of the day, it is your mind, your mental outlook, which will make you happy or unhappy. So choice is yours. Okay. Okay, so let us read from the text. Now, in the next two verses, it really talks about the qualities of prospective wife. What is being explained here is prospective wife, But it can be prospective husband also. If you change the wording a little bit, replace the women with men, it is the same. As I said earlier, these teachings are primarily given to the monks, so they would highlight the false women and things like that. Okay. And whatever be the case, it is impossible that everybody become monks and nuns. To become monks and nuns may be important, may be good, but if we all become monks and nuns, then the world will come to an end. There will be no reproduction, which means there will be no bodhisattva then coming, no Buddhas coming, you see. So we have, in the ancient times, there are stories of some, practitioners who are praying for a son to study and protect and preserve the Buddha's teaching, right? So marriage is natural thing, and in Buddhism we never say marriage is bad or anything like that, right? We say sexual misconduct is bad, but we don't say sex itself is bad, because it's a natural thing. It's a natural thing. But then, like any other thing, if you get obsessed with anything, then sometimes even so-called good practice maybe, if you get obsessed, that may also be wrong, you see, right? So therefore, since we need to live this life of making relationships or marrying, a man, or women, things like that, then the important part is to know again the responsibility. If you become wife, what is the responsibility? If you become a man, what is the responsibility? And what is the essence of that relationship? Relationship should not be made based on the color of the skin, right? Because the color of the skin is just temporary, fleeting, When you marry together as a young boy and girl, the color of skin may be smooth and good, so you might get attracted to each other. But as the time goes, and very soon you become an old man and old women, then then both the men and the women have just wrinkles on the forehead, or skins are all loose, hanging and things like that. So there's nothing attractive in terms of physical thing, but still the relationship, which is based on spirituality, spiritual connection, based on love, based on affection, even if it is alloyed a little bit attachment, because we are not, excelled beings, but still predominantly that relationship is made on, spiritual bond, made on genuine love and affection. Then that kind of relationship, like any other relationship, is, I think, very amazing. Because in life, even a monk or nun, when they become old, they start worrying, who will look after me, things like that. So in life, supporting each other and making relationship to each other it's beautiful. There's nothing wrong with that. So therefore, this being the case, marriage should not take place on superficial, qualities, but it should be uh, decided through proper thinking, proper relationship. It should not be made in terms of how much the money the young lady has or young man has. Unfortunately, these days, people do everything for money. I've seen, 70-year-old or 60-year-old man married to a 25-year-old girl or things like that, I'm nobody to object there, but what I'm saying is simply marrying for money, for name, for fame, will not go very far. You will get big problem, right? So therefore, this is what is being said here. Now, in this case, because the instruction is primarily for men probably, or here in this case, men, because here in this case, the teaching is given to the king, right? So therefore, he's telling the king. And in the case of the king, it's not only his marriage, but as a king, he may have to supervise the marriages of many other people. So therefore, the king is instructed by saying, avoid these three kinds of wives. One, who like an executioner, is naturally associated with the enemy. That means even after marriage, the young woman is having affair with other man, there's really like an enemy, right? So therefore, that's the meaning. Like an executioner is naturally associated with the enemy, basically means other person, having affair with other person. Right? These kind of things are rampant in our society also. And then second wife that is to be avoided is one who, like a queen, disrespects the husband. Meaning that now here in this case we are talking about women, if it's man or women, whatever, the husband and wife should deep down respect each other. And according with the Buddhist teaching, we should respect all sentient beings, not just husband and wife, all sentient beings. Especially husband and wife, because you have to live together, you must respect each other. Many of the problem arises because the wife tries to make the husband, go in accordance with her skill, her knowledge, why you're doing this? This is wrong. This is right. She is always dictating, then the husband also does the same thing. Then there's a big problem, you see. Because the husband has his own, he has his own life. Wife has her own life, right? So let each of them, live their life, support each other, learn from each other, respect each other, right? Of course, you can, advise each other, but don't try to control. Don't act like a king or a queen. That is what they're saying. Dictating, I've seen many people like the wife acts as like a queen, Maharani. And then husband acts like a king, then completely making the wife work like a slave, things like that. It's especially, you know, we see this in the case of women. Women are really like, in many cases, mistreated, you see. They have to work like a slave in many cases, right? In some cases, husband also, but more cases with the women, right? Disrespects the husband. And the one who, like a thief, steals even small things. So, it is he or she, whoever, quietly, without telling it to the husband or wife, takes away things and giving it to other people. So it's really like basically stealing. There are some, wife who works very hard and then the money is squandered by the husband. And contrarily, the same thing with the wife also. So that's also not good. That's also not good. And then, contrary to this, the type of wife to revere as a family, to be revered, to be respected is, as a family deity is the one, if the wife who should be respected like almost like a deity is the one who is kind like a sister. See the difference, If the wife has to act like a sister, the husband also has to act like a brother. Now, my understanding of this is, for example, if you look at the relation between wife and husband and relation between brother and sister, or if you look at the relation between the mother and the child, I think, if I'm not wrong, the relation is a little bit purer. The relation between mother and child is a little bit purer. And the relation between brother and sister is a little bit purer than the relation between the husband and wife. This is what this is how I'm reading this text, right? Because the relation between husband and wife is much more strongly based on attachment, right? So therefore he's saying it should be like a relation between the brother and sister, right? Like a sister. And then one who is dear like a friend, you see. Again, you can see genuine friend is really much more, if you have somebody who's really very good friend, then you always have a distance where you are not sucked into each other, but also always ready to help each other. So that kind of relationship is really wonderful. You have not given all your life. I'm going to live with you just like husband and wife. I give my life to you, kind of thing. And then you get problem, you see. But if you give your life and then also maintain this very pure relationship. That's wonderful. So I think from that point of view, he's saying like a friend. And one who wishes your benefit like a mother, as I explained already, or one who is subject to you like a servant. Now, if I use the same thing with the husband who acts like a servant, it's justified. But otherwise, if you say the wife should be like a servant, then this is a kind of outdated concept. Outdated concept. In many of these great teachings, also, the teachings basically all beautiful, but all these teachings are given in a cultural context. So in this case, in the Indian cultural context, the women's are looked down a little bit, you see. So therefore this comes actually like a servant or things like that, right? Because this turn now, especially in today's world, men and women equal. We talk about equality, right? So the servant, not from the Bodhisattva viewpoint. From Bodhisattva viewpoint, the Bodhisattvas need to consider themselves as a servant to everybody. If that's what talking about, then it's fine. But here it's not talking from the point of view of a Bodhisattva, but from a human level, One is cleaning the house, cleaning the pots and utensils and, not saying anything back to the husband, always saying, yes, yes, yes. So that is now, that concept is outdated. And that concept not only outdated, but doesn't actually go with the main Buddhist teaching. So it of course depends upon how you interpret all this, but it is important to, my main point is it is important to sift the cultural clipping from the real Buddhist teaching. The real Buddhist teaching, as I always say, is in conformity with the law of nature, right? So anything that doesn't go with the law of nature, anything that does not go with harmony, anything that does not go with, you know, uh, honesty or justice and things like that, then it's not good. Okay? Because from Buddhist viewpoint, the most important thing is achieving Buddhahood. So as far as achieving Buddhahood is concerned, we cannot make any discrimination between men and women because it's a state of mind. And women have equal capacity. But in many cases, women actually show more interest in spirituality. I've given many talks in many places. The teachings are mostly attended by women. And that is true because the mothers, they have that, natural biological makeup of becoming the mother and loving the child and taking care of the child. So that kind of capacity to express love and compassion is there, more kind of obvious with the women, right? So there's no difference. But again, as I said, in the cultural context, there has been some differentiation before. So many of the teachings sometimes in Buddhist teaching, even in Tantra, you can see that reflection of the cultural bias or cultural difference. So therefore, later on, the latest tantric teaching, which is the Kala Chakra teaching. In the Kala Chakra teaching, that mistake is almost like being corrected. So in the Kala Chakra teaching, when you receive a tantric vow, then after receiving that tantric initiation, then you need to observe certain precepts, certain vows. So one of the vows made there is that if you defame a woman, if you say bad things against a woman, that is infraction of your vow. So that is really correcting a past mistake. The same thing is not said with men, because man already has that recognition, you see. Women is left behind. So that is very much there. So therefore, the main point that I'm making is we need to clearly understand that spiritual practice has nothing to do with the body. Nothing to do with joining an army and going to the war and see who is brave. It's nothing to do with that. It's, mental capacity where we are all same. Okay, so that's important. And then verse number 38. Uh, and then, in order to practice all these teachings, in order to undertake meditation, all these teachings, uh, there are two, there are of course many factors, but two factors which will obstruct your one-pointed meditation. So you need to be careful about that. So this is being said in the next verses. Okay. So in the next verse it says, understanding food to be like medicine, neither use it with hatred, nor attachment, nor for might, pride, or beauty, but solely for maintaining the body. That means when we eat food, sometimes we might eat food out of the three poisons. Why do we get sick very often? Because of ignorance. Because of ignorance. So we need to be very careful what kind of food you are eating. And especially in today's world, when everything is packaged and beautifully packaged, then we get attracted to the external package and go after it. For example, a fruit juice, beautifully packed, but inside the juice may be sometimes 1 year old. Believe me, I'm not making it up. Sometimes 6 months old, but it will not smell bad because they put some chemicals. So doubly bad for your health. So therefore, we should really, as much as possible, avoid many of this packaged food and go for natural food, whether you call it organic food or not, whatever name you give. But it's important to really go more for natural food. And I think I mentioned earlier, in Emory University, and I'm sure it has been done many places, but I remember in Emory University, they did an experiment with a number of drinks like Coca-Cola and the so-called fruit juice and water and many things. They found water is the best for one's health. You see, and you don't have to pay. And therefore, we are stupid. We are ignorant. We are paying and buying things which is going to destroy you. So be clever, right? And then sometimes we eat food just to, just to show how muscular you are, right? So in the case of men, they eat and then do exercise and then bring a lot of muscles, and then even when they go like this. I've seen many of them go like this, then become, that's what the text is saying, then you become arrogant and proud, and then you tend to bully other. Very recently one of Indian boxers, because of his capacity to box, he hit somebody and killed that person, and he got imprisoned, you see. So there may be many cases like this, if you become arrogant, proud, and then because you're physically strong, you might, rape women or molest women or bully other people. That is something that we see in all the movies, you see. And what we see in the movies is a depiction of the real social life. So don't do that. Don't do that. Eating out of attachment, all of us do that. We just go for the taste, just to get the taste, you put all kind of ingredients, which may be not good for your health, right? Put more salt to taste it, then you get problem of the blood pressure, and then just for taste, you put more sugar, your diabetes is affected, you see, right? So there also, as much as possible, we should go for more natural food and lessen and avoid many of these unhealthy products. The choice is ours. We need to be a little bit strong to make choices. And many of your illnesses can be, avoid it if you're a little bit alert and aware and make the correct decisions. And then sometimes we eat food out of hatred also. For example, if you go to war and then conquer that part of the enemy, then whatever you steal and rob, and then you eat like, this is my enemy's food, so let us enjoy, like that. So this is out of hatred. So don't eat food with this kind of three poisons, but eat food simply for survival. What is purpose of your life? What is your purpose of your survival? If I may ask this question, what is the purpose of your survival? It's not just to eat. It is absolutely wrong to say I live for eating or I live for sleeping, no? Right? Yes, you need food, you need to sleep, but that is not the main objective. The objective is to be happy, to be peaceful. And how would you be happy and peaceful if you keep on bullying others, cheating others, ignoring others, creating more suffering upon others? I'm not talking about religion at all. It's a natural thing. You keep on fighting with many people, then see whether you're happy or not. That is against your emotion, your nature, right? So you cannot be happy with this kind of negative ways of life. So therefore, eat just for survival. And I don't have to tell you this, but many people told me that when you eat also, you chew 21 times the food. How many of us normally, we are so rushed, we are talking and not paying attention, not being able to enjoy the taste, and then you are talking and looking, and then you put one spoonful of food in the mouth, and before having properly chewed it, you put the second one, mix it, and then you gulp it down, right? So that's why there's some clever people, they really came up with this phrase saying that swallow the solid and chew the liquid. There's the slogan. Chew the liquid. It's a funny word, Liquid, nothing is chew. That's what we think, As soon as if it is a liquid, just gulp down. That's how we think. No. Chew the liquid means even if it is a liquid, don't just gulp it down. Just put it in the mouth a little bit, mix it with your saliva and taste it. And then mixing of the saliva is the real, thing that makes your food, digestible. The first part of being able to digest is being made in the mouth, right? And swallow the solid. Swallow the solid means that you chew the solid 21 times or something like that. You chew it so well, then so after having chewed, you can just almost like gulp it down just like a liquid, swallow the solid, right? So I've tested. Since I heard this, I've tested it myself. It really makes sense, and food is really much tastier, much more delicious. And normally we don't. That's why we talk about the importance of mindfulness in everything that we do. If you're mindful and enjoy whatever you're doing, that will make you healthy. That will make your food, tasty and delicious, right? So like that, and then understanding the food like a medicine. That's what is said here. Now, medicine, how much you will eat medicine? You will not eat one bowl full of medicine, meaning that just like medicine, don't eat too much, just enough. And I've tested with that also. When you eat just enough and leave it there, even if the food is delicious, don't get tempted to put more spoons, in the mouth. If you just leave it there, then you feel your body feels very, you know, uh, comfortable, at ease. But more than what you need, if you put a little bit more, then you will feel the breathing problem, you see. You can see the stomach rising, Then even when you lie down, you don't feel comfortable. Sometimes you get bad dreams also. Because when your body is disturbed, then there's the message is delivered by the mind also, experienced by the mind also. And that I think personally, my personal understanding is just by doing that, you can reduce your weight also. You don't have to starve yourself. So in the case of men, many of them just starve them, eat too much and they become, obesity, suffer from obesity. Then in the case of women, I heard many of them, they're so worried about their figure, the so-called figure, that they many, not everybody, but I heard many starve themselves and suffer from a disease called anorexia, right? And I heard that so much so that some of them actually starve themselves, very worried. Oh, my body will become, big and fat and things like that. So these are extremes. But we live in a very funny world. I've seen people who there's a competition of women above 90 kilos or 80 kilos. So that is actually encouraging people to eat more, which is really killing, you see. So anyway, there is no end to uh, madness, no end to madness. Okay. Then the next word is another obstructive factor for your one-pointed meditation is sleeping, right? So he's addressing the king by saying, "Oh, righteous one, after usefully spending the whole day, he's saying that usefully spending the whole day, we have to see ourselves whether you've spent the whole day in a useful way or not so useful way." Then he says, after spending the whole day usefully, then don't just go to sleep immediately. He says, and the beginning and end of the night, that is the dawn and the dusk. During the dawn and the dusk also you should practice, not only the day, dawn and dusk also. Then in between that, mindfully sleep, and in the middle period. So that doesn't mean that, divide the night into three parts equally, equal hours, and then sleep in the middle. That doesn't mean that. But the sleeping duration should be around 7 hours. 7 hours. And especially according to some scholars, they say that sleep before 12 p.m. in the night is really very good for one's health. And according to many Buddhist teachings, sleeping in the day is not good for one's health. But some of the scientists and modern, some people who say they are expert on health, they say that you need a nap, to help your brain not get completely tired. So it may be true, but the main point is that don't pick up this habit of sleeping too much. Because the more you spend sleeping, the more your mind will become dull. Like, for example, in the day, if you sleep a little bit longer and then get up, then you get headache and your mind becomes unclear. That means it is not the time for sleeping. Then in the night, when you had a peaceful sleep, next morning you get up fresh, you don't get tired, you see. But now, as I said, we live in a funny mad world. So mostly people are, awake in the night like owl. And then in the day, they want to get up very easily, you see. Right? And then slowly, when they go to the office or wherever they go, they look like they are half intoxicated, you see, having not got proper sleep, things like that. Although how much sleep you need, differs from person to person. I have seen some people who have to sleep only 3 hours a night. I know one person who sleeps only 3 hours a night. But for people like me, we need at least 7, 8 hours good sleep. So that sleep at the right time. So basically, at least enough hours before 12 p.m. in the night. It's very important. Okay. So spending the whole day and the beginning and end of the night, mindfully sleep. So that means not only you spend the day in a very useful way and also undertake practice during the dawn and the dusk, but also when you are going to sleep, sleep mindfully. That means just before you recline on the bed and close your eye, and then the sleep, unless you are very tired, sleep doesn't come so easily. Or at least intentionally you make effort to reflect on some of the teachings that you received, reflect on the phases of the Buddha or His Holiness the Dalai Lama, or kindness or compassion or things like that. So that way, if you go to sleep, then the sleep is said to be neither a neutral thing, neither positive nor negative. It can be converted into positive or negative depending upon what kind of motivation influences that sleep, right? So therefore, it is important to adopt this tactic so that you get the advantage of making the whole sleep a virtuous sleep. Not only your body gets rest, but your mind also gets that habit of continuously doing the virtuous practice. So in that way, the whole night, whole day, you are doing spiritual practice. It is possible, right? So that's what he's saying. Mindfully sleep only in the middle, so even the time of sleep will not be fruitless, right? Then the next uh, point is to practice the limitless meditation, meaning that taking food as a medicine, not eating too much, because if you eat too much, you'll get sleepy. If you get too less, you will be hungry, right? So just the right amount of food, just like medicine that you should take, okay? And then having made your body and mind serviceable or appropriate for your meditation, then you should meditate on the four immeasurable qualities. So that is what is explained in the next verse. So this is basically saying that you should undertake the practice of the meditation of four immeasurable, qualities, and also meditate on the bodhicitta. And through that way, then you will gradually actualize the first path. The first path of the three parts of the first path, the path of accumulation. The path of accumulation is the first out of the five paths. And that path of accumulation is also divided into three: small, middle, and great. So through the practice of the four immeasurable qualities and then meditation of bodhicitta, you are able to enter into the path of accumulation and actualize the first part of the path of accumulation, which is called the small path of accumulation. So always meditate rightly on love, immeasurable love, compassion, immeasurable compassion, joy, immeasurable joy, and equanimity, immeasurable equanimity. Now, love, as you all know, is a mind which says, how nice if all sentient beings meet with happiness. All sentient, it's called immeasurable because the quality that you cultivate is immeasurable. And the focus is all sentient beings, not just partial sentient beings, all sentient beings. So therefore it is immeasurable love. Now, compassion is a mind which says, how nice if I'm able to remove the sufferings of all sentient beings. That's immeasurable, compassion. And then the joy. How nice if sentient beings meet with that state of joy, which is without suffering. So this, what is being said here is not only you develop love and feeling of closeness, but you should also show concern for removing their suffering. And while doing that, you should not be jealous when other people achieve happiness. So meaning that when you see other people enjoying, other people living in harmony, other people wearing beautiful clothes, things like that, just appreciate, wonderful, they look happy. You may know these people or you may not know these people, but appreciate, wonderful. That is called joy. That's joy. Don't get jealous. So we very often we are very, we easily develop, jealousy. And I've always given this example. For example, uh, during this teaching gathering, let us say we are not doing the online teaching, but we are all sitting in one classroom. Okay. Then suddenly a rich gentleman comes in the class and then he asks us, what are you all doing? And we are studying Buddhism. Then he says, oh, wonderful, I rejoice, I'm so happy. So I want to make some contribution. And then saying that if he takes out his purse and gives $100 to each of you who are listening to my teaching, but he doesn't give that $100 to me, I feel uneasy. That is because I have a little bit of jealousy. If none of us get anything, I'm okay. I don't feel that uneasiness. But when you all get, I don't get, then you might think, how come he's not giving me? Although you have no right to get anything. Whether he's given to the others or not, you have no right. But still, when he has given that $100 to others, not you, you feel uneasy. That is an indication of you having, jealousy. So therefore, whenever you see other people enjoying, happy, living in harmony, smiling, things like that, then be happy also. Not only they're happy, you can be happy also. Like, for example, just like your daughter, little daughter or son, when they're singing and dancing, you also feel happy, you see. Right? So like that. So therefore we have this prayer. May all sentient beings meet with uh, happiness and the cause of happiness. May all sentient beings are without suffering and the causes of suffering. So the first one is loving, love. Second is compassion. May all sentient beings uh, meet with that happiness, which is without suffering, immeasurable joy. May all sentient beings live in harmony without having that feeling of closeness to some and distanceness to others. Now, so the last one is equanimity. Equanimity means if you look at a field where you're going to cultivate something, sow a seed and cultivate something, the first thing you need to do is level the ground, make it equal. And I want to tell you this story again. Some of you might have heard, some of you may not have heard. I have a Tibetan friend, who went to study in Japan, study agriculture, farming. He went there. So one day we were just chit-chatting. Then he told me that in Japan they don't have any crooked turnip. Okay. And I said, what kind of silly statement you are making? What do you mean? The turnips crooked or straight, that is how they grow just in the field. How can they do that? Then he said, no, it's really dependent upon how you prepare the land. The turnip or anything that you grow, if the land is not properly prepared, then there may be stones and rocks, a piece of wood and things like that. Then this objects obstruct the straight growth of that turnip or carrot, whatever. And that is very bad for packaging. You lose a lot of money, you see. Now, if you have all the straight turnip, all straight carrots, it's very easy to pack, you see. So Japanese are doing that. I'm sure it's now done in many places also. Then they came also with an idea of growing square watermelon. The round watermelon which we still get takes west is a lot of space because of its roundish shape. But if it is skewered like a dice, It's very easy to pack. So I once saw an article on that a long time before. So I don't know whether they are very successful in that or not, because still I'm seeing this roundish, watermelon, not the square one. So anyway, the point that I'm making is, so just like we prepare the land, right? Just like we prepare the land, uh, we need to uh, prepare our mind, to develop loving kindness to all sentient beings, to develop compassion and joy to all sentient beings. First, we should, from our mental perspective, see all the sentient beings as equal, wanting happiness, not wanting suffering. Still not getting happiness, still having a lot of suffering, right? So there's no reason to aspire happiness just for you and for some of your friends and not for others. We are all same wanting happiness, not wanting suffering. We all same in having the right to have that happiness and the right to shun suffering. Not only that, we all have to live together. So therefore, it is short-sightedness and stupidity to just think about oneself, one's family, one's country alone, and not about others. Right? So therefore, we talk about the well-being of all sentient beings because of the interdependent nature, interconnected nature. Okay. So therefore, uh, even if the supreme state is not gained in this way, still the happiness of the world of Brahma will be attained. So that means if you seriously practice these immeasurable qualities, then even if you at certain stage you may not be able to achieve that supreme state, which is nirvana, but you can still achieve higher states in the samsara, like the state of a higher, Brahma or higher celestial deity, where there is much more happiness and things like that. Okay. Oh yeah. To practice the concentration. The next one is to practice the concentration. Now the next verse is saying that, so next, if you meditate on the four concentrations, if you practice the four concentrations, and then through this meditation, you will actualize the middling and the great uh, path of the accumulation. Okay. Having given up the pleasure, joys, and sufferings of the realm of desire by means of four concentrations, the fortunate levels of the gods, Brahma, uh, Abhasvara, Subha Krishna, and Pratipala will be obtained. So these are just different names for different levels of concentrations. So even within the samsara, there are many different levels, of state of happiness. So with this successive practice, you can achieve, even while you are in the samsara, you can achieve higher states. Like for example, even in the human realm, you can see so many different people. Some of them are quite happy, quite lucky. They seem to be doing very well. Their family seem to be doing very well in terms of material needs, in terms of spiritual needs. Not everybody is same. So this is dependent upon our practice of in this life, our practice in the past life, and things like that. So therefore, when we talk about Buddhist practice, it is to be done stage by stage. We cannot at one go achieve nirvana, at one go we achieve enlightenment. So therefore, it is absolutely proper to go stage by stage and achieve those higher states of happiness, where you will also get more uh, better environment and needed conditions suitable for your practice also. So therefore, we need to plan our life in such a way that in the future life, in the next life, we have a better opportunity than now. Or at least make sure that you don't fall down. So we need to plan in such a way that every life it is a little bit better. And in this life also, every day, every month, a little bit better. So here in this case, the most important thing is you are the best judge. Compare your life today than five years before. or 1 year before? Have you made any progress? Are you a little bit better in terms of your thinking, in terms of your happiness, in terms of your relationship, things like that, in terms of your reduction of negative emotions and things like that? And if you are able to see that change, then you are on the right track. If you are unable to see any change, then you need to more, alert and make more serious practice and effort. That's the way. Okay. Okay, some questions.
Yes, so Tichena, thank you so much, Geshe. Yeah, Natasha, please go ahead.
Geshe, thank you very much. Today, actually, we don't have many questions. We have rather a request for you. I just wanted to let you know that one of our listeners is asking if you could give us teachings on Buddhist psychology, because the modern psychology is very much different from the Buddhist view in what regards the causes of suffering, the workings of our psyche or mind, and the purpose of developing ourselves. So if you could give us such a teaching, we would appreciate it very much. Is it possible?
The whole Western education, including Western psychology, is oriented towards betterment of just this life, just this temporary life, right? And in this life also, much of the practices are aimed towards kind of patchwork solution, short-term solution, patchwork solution. I'm not like unnecessarily exaggerating the goodness of Buddhist teaching, but you can find it out for yourself. The Buddhist approach is a holistic approach in the sense that it talks about how to heal your body and mind as a whole, your person as a whole, and then also not just this life, but for many lives to come also, right? But in the Western practice, it's basically, if I'm not wrong, it's a patchwork solution. If you have a kidney problem, just deal with the kidney. If you have heart problem, just move it or transplant it, whatever, just deal with that. You see. So in the Tibetan medicine, like the Buddhist philosophy, it deals with the whole body. That since the whole body is connected, so the source and the origin and the connection of that part all must be analyzed and treated. So I think that the whole approach is different. Whole approach is different. I'm not saying that the Western psychology is useless and things like that, but for treating some immediate problems on the spot may be useful. You see, I don't know much, but in the Buddhist psychology, it is basically, as I said earlier, it is basically dealing with the destructive negative emotions. And in the Western psychology, they don't talk much about destructive emotions, right? As I said earlier, all emotions are necessary, right? And then they will try to cure some emotions, like how you deal with sadness and some of the fleeting temporary emotions and things like that. So that is my take. That's my understanding. I may be wrong. I'm not an expert on Western psychology, but uh, so that's how I think. But what I know confidently is that the Buddhist teaching is really, a universal teaching applicable to everybody, whether you're Buddhist or not a Buddhist. And it really deals with the psychology, the function of human mind, the function of human mind. And there is a detailed, mental typography, mental atlas. So, we talk about the 51 mental factors. In some texts, they even talk about many more emotions. So therefore, it will be interesting and worthwhile to study these mental factors or emotions, and then also study the modern psychologists' ways of identifying some of the emotions, and uh, so make a comparative study. I've been thinking about making a comparative study, and I have some of the lists. So, but I still didn't get proper time to compare them and do some more in-depth study. So it will be really interesting uh, to to study from both the sources, because the purpose is to heal the human problem, right? Okay.
Thank you very much, Geshe La. And also, we received another question. What does it mean to tame your mind? Does it mean that you need to dissolve your conceptual mind?
Yes, conceptual mind in the sense that the primary objective is, as I repeatedly mentioned, even in today's talks, to deal with the negative emotions. The negative emotions arise from discursive thoughts or conceptual minds, right? It basically arises from your thoughts, your projections, right? So therefore you need to deal with the mind, deal with the human thought, and then correct it to ensure that the mind is perceiving the reality as it is and not denigrating or exaggerating the reality. It is by denigrating and exaggerating the reality, we come up with all this host of negative emotions, which is not true to the reality. So therefore, yes, you are right that we need to deal with our conceptual thoughts. Okay.
Thank you very much. And if I may, we have another question which arrived, and I think that we'll stop on this. Sometimes the emotions are like the negative emotions, of course, are so persistent that they don't let me to meditate, and I cannot completely calm my mind and my feelings. How to help this situation?
So you need to adopt different tactics. Sometimes if you pay attention more than needed, then it seems to bounce back, right? So sometimes they say, the best way to remember something is to try to forget it, you see. So when you try to, obstinately, when you try to forget something, what you're actually doing is you're remembering that, right? So therefore it is important sometimes to just ignore it. Just continue doing your good part and enjoy that, and the other will automatically, cease to appear, right? Just like watching a movie, you see. When you are watching a gripping movie, then your mind is so much lost into it that even when people are walking around you, talking, around you, you're unable to hear their talking. You're unable to see them properly. Later on, if you ask them, "Did you see these people, talking near you?" They say, "Yeah, I saw some people, but I don't remember who." Because you're completely lost into it, right? So therefore, once your mind is totally dedicated in something, then there will be less room for distraction by the negative emotions. But of course, it is not easy because it's easier said than done because we are so habituated and used with that. For example, if it is a very, it's an object in which you are obsessed, you like that object so much, you're already kind of addicted to it. Just like, somebody who is somebody just like a drunkard, who is heavily intoxicated by drinking, you can't ask that person to just stop drinking right away. You have to be tactful, you see. Then gradually, the brain also accepts it, your body also accepts it. Then gradually you're able to change it. So therefore, therefore in Buddhism we say you need to do your practice continuously. There is no shortcut to enlightenment. You need to do it continuously, just like a running stream. The running stream runs 24 hours. It will never say that it's now night, I will sleep. It's now day, I will start running. It continues, So like that, we need to continue, especially as I said earlier, our negative habits are just like a chronic illness. In the case of chronic illness, you can't hope to cure that chronic illness by taking one tablet of medicine, right? You need many months or many days of treatment. So like that. So therefore, there is one text by one of the main disciples of Tsongkhapa, which is actually on Madhyamika, And there, the title of the text itself is Dose of Emptiness, you see. So you need to take a strong dose, like the understanding of emptiness, for removing many of these conceptual thoughts. Okay.
Thank you, Natasha, for the questions. Shaili, you can go next. Yeah. I sent you unmute question.
Hi, Rishila.
Mm.
Pranam. I find something like it's now more like a loop. Like we are doing the practice for happiness, and when we are doing dharma practices, it's a part that you are telling throughout the teaching that don't close your eyes to the reality.
Mm.
And if we open our eyes to the reality, then with some good things, some reality, the basically I want to say the reality is very bitter sometimes,
Mm.
most of the times.
Mm.
And when we see the reality, we can see that people are deceiving, lying, and driven by uh, lust and other ill intentions, and that somehow make me very unhappy, sad,
Mm.
and
Mm.
I feel kind of sufferings,
Mm.
not for only myself, for others also.
Mm.
And again, it's a part of the practice also. Then
Mm.
whenever I'm doing the practice, now it's become a loop.
Mm.
Like one time I'm doing it for the happiness,
Mm.
and it's a part that I have to open my eyes, open to the realities, and reality hurts.
Mm.
So what the wrong thing I'm doing in the whole process?
No, no, nothing wrong. Nothing wrong. Reality hurts. That is true.
Then
That's
we're doing it for happiness, long lasting, and
like
happiness.
for example, not only that. For example, impermanence is the reality.
Huh?
Impermanence is reality. But if you think about impermanence properly, especially think about death, it hurts. Nobody wants to die. But it's good for you. There's one way of thinking, you know. The another way is just like it depends on the situation. For example, if you're trying to do a meditation, then at that time you should not be seeing everything. You know, you should focus more on that particular object and not everything. That's a different state. But then
Okay.
you can't remain in meditation all the time. You have to open your eyes and accept the fact. Walk in the kitchen, go into the garden, meet people, go to your office. You know, you're compelled to open your eye. So what is important is when you see that bitter truth, which may be hurting,
Hmm.
okay, but your mind should be so much prepared and attuned that this external things that you see does not immediately make you unhappy or influence you. That's important. It will take time, but it is possible. It is possible with the realization that you cannot change the world overnight. You cannot change people right away. So just like you or me, other people also have their weaknesses, their strong habits, which takes time to change, right? So therefore, sometimes you can help people to change. Sometimes, despite you seeing their wrong behavior, wrong deeds, there's no way you can tell them. There's no way you can approach them. So
Hmm.
mentally, you can just pray that may they change their habit and things like that. So the main point is do those things which you can do, and those
Hmm.
things which you can't do, just do some prayer, but don't get bogged down in those things. Just by feeling miserable and suffering by seeing all these unhealthy things that is happening in the world, you're not solving any problem. You only make yourself susceptible, vulnerable. That doesn't do anything good for you, good for others.
Yeah.
So therefore, the reason that in Buddhism we talk about not to let negative emotions creep in you. For example, take the example of the Tibetan struggle against the government. The Chinese against the government, the killing, the torture that they've done since 1948, 50, 48, 49, 50, things like that. I mean, if you think it, it will just completely make you violent, angry, we are going to publish a book which I have started reading. The story is a detailed the story of how many people, men, women, were killed in each and every place all over Tibet. You see, unthinkable. So that has happened. But now what are you going to do? Now, if you continuously read that and then feel unhappy and then get angry against Chinese, how is it going to help you? Or how is it going to harm the Chinese? No. My being angry and desperate here in Dharamsala will make me suffer. The enemy even has no idea what I'm doing, right? So therefore, don't do those things which will just waste your time and destroy your peace, but of no benefit to others. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I understand.
Yeah.
But again, when this kind of thing happens, what I do, again, I shut the door to the reality and try to do something for myself and try to focus on my work only. But it's kind of loop, what I already mentioned, but I understood what you said right now. It's kind of practice.
No. When we say accept the reality, it means that these things are there. You're simply closing your eye doesn't make them go away. You see. So you're bound to see them one day or the other. But the important thing is then you say, okay, these things are happening, it's not good, So I should at least do my part of the good side, and encourage young people or others, to tread in that good path. But then I understand that I cannot change everybody one day. So that's the reality, you see. The Buddha came, Jesus Christ came, and they could not change the whole humanity. Still we are suffering, you see. So how can we, ordinary people, can change them completely? But that again doesn't mean that everybody is bad. There are many good people are there also. So don't just focus on one thing and then feel, miserable and depressed. Oh, the world is hopeless. Not like that. Not like that. Even in many difficult situations, I've seen many young innocent people. They really aspire for a happy life, a peaceful life. They have no ill will, hatred, and majority people, especially the illiterate people, are like that. You see, so that's wonderful. So therefore, we should play our part to help these people enjoy more peace, more happiness, and don't just get lost because of some bad people. That's my kind of way of thinking.
Thank you, Geshe.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jackie, did you have a question? Okay, cool. So Geshe, that was the last question for this session.
Okay.
And thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
At least 1 hour, 1.5 hours of our, in a week, very meaningful. And we have some thoughts to take over for the weekend, to think over and put into our practices. So thank you so much, Geshe. I hope these teachings last with us in our actions. So thank you, and please conclude the session with prayers, Geshe. Okay.
Chere sigla chance lo omane peme 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 Omane be me hon gewan di nyudo da jere zegwan rubjone dowa chegyamale te sala go bara sho. Thank you.